May 2nd, I'd like to call to order the Westborough Economic Development Committee meeting. First on our agenda is the vote to approve minutes from March 7th as well as April 4th. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? Any comments, questions, concerns?
No.
All right. Do I hear a motion then?
Motion to approve the minutes from, I forgot the date.
April 4th and March 7th.
April 4th and March 7th of '23.
Second that motion.
All right. We'll have to do a roll call because we have a couple folks that have logged on remotely. So Alexander, yes?
Zeph, yes.
Kearney, yes.
Leonardo, yes.
Go ahead, Dave.
Bagden, yes. Yeah, Bagden, yes.
All right.
Riley, yes.
Mark?
Verow, yes.
All right.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have a number of EDC grant applications to review today. We're going to be starting with coffee and pie. If you'd like to come on up and...
Oh. Yes, I believe if you have an HDMI port, you can also present directly from your laptop.
I'm sure.
With that cable to your left.
I just want to verify that the members who have logged on remotely, you hopefully received the documents that Zach sent this morning as it relates to the rubric and the scoring and everything?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Abdullah Al-Shaq, and I'm the owner of Coffee and Pie in Westborough. Today I'm coming here to ask for some assistance from the town of Westborough. My wife and I started Coffee and Pie this year. Our door opened for public on April 1st. This is our very first location in Westborough. We signed a lease for 5 years with option to extend for 10 more years, that to be exercised by us as a tenant. For employees, we currently have 2 full-time employees plus 5 part-time employees. The 5 other employees who are part-time is due to school commitment. They're all from Westborough High School. So we have various positions across our coffee shop, and those students have been coming in and asking for jobs, and we hire them because we need the extra hands. So our coffee shop is accommodating all different types of genders and age. We offer a variety of items on our food menu that accommodates gluten-free, intolerant, dairy-free. We have a couple items that they are kosher as well, since some of our customers have asked for it. So we try to accommodate most of the food restrictions. And we also have a small little play place for families who bring in kids with them, color boards, some little toys for kids to play with, so parents can enjoy a cup of coffee at our place. A little bit of background about me and my wife. I'm an asylee in this country. I came in when I was 17 years old, about 10 years ago. I was lucky to get a scholarship to study at WPI, and I finished my engineering degree, and that's where I met my wife. My wife is originally from Albania, but she's immigrant, born and raised in Greece. And now she is, we're married and we live together in Worcester. So currently, when we went in Coffee and Pie, we really didn't seek any investors or loans or debt from anybody. It was a personal project. We 100% funded it from our savings, what we saved in our last 2 years, being almost a year and a half, almost 2 years being married. And we just put some of the stuff on our credit cards because we needed things to be done immediately. Because we didn't want to open on April 1st and not really have the means that people expected it. Also, we did a little bit of marketing, but with a very, very limited budget of $100, we were only able to do some social media marketing. Hopefully, in the future, we can do more marketing to get the word spread out. But we've been blessed with the town of Westborough people. Our Google reviews and Yelp reviews, which is what we look at as a rubric to measure our success, has been really, really great. So just a little bit of breakdown of what we have spent so far. The landlord asked us for first, last, and deposit, which came down to $12,400, plus yesterday another $4,000 for the month of May. We had to purchase an espresso machine, and the one that we could find that it will require minimal skills for our employees. It cost about $6,794. I'm not sure why this is doing that.
It's a little.
Yeah, I'm just holding it. So what we currently need, so the rent and the espresso machine, we already paid them. They're on our personal credit cards. But what we really need right now is another industrial freezer. So due to the minimal space of fridge and freezer that we have, we are required to do more orders from the suppliers, and most of these suppliers, they have minimal spending in order to deliver to you. So basically, if I need more salmon or more tomatoes or any produce, I have to stock up on more cups and stuff to bring to the minimal order required. So I believe a new freezer would really, really help us a lot to stock up on some stuff to reduce our monthly cost. The other thing is, for coffee lovers, they know that is half of the coffee comes from the grinder. The grinder we have is pretty old, and the coffee supplier lent us his own for a couple months until we can be on our feet and purchase a new one. But if the grind is not good, the coffee is not good. And a lot of people have really loved our coffee, and we want to make sure that they get the same quality every time they come in. So we really need to purchase a new coffee grinder, which comes down to $13.31.55. This one will ensure that so right now I have to be there for every single coffee cup, because it's only me who kind of know how to use the grinder. It's a little bit old. So investing in a new grinder will allow my employees to take bigger roles and start being like a barista instead of just cashier or running around as bass boys and bring food and etc. So that's what I'm coming in here today and asking for the grant.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Anybody on the board have any questions? No? All right. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next EDC grant application is Harmon's Wine and Spirits. Is there a representative, I believe, online, perhaps?
Yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Manpreet, so I am the owner of Harmon Wine and Spirit. So the store name was Hyphen Wine before. The store was like for 10 years, and it was a full package store, and seller never changed the sign to something says that it's a liquor that they sell or something like spirits. So I purchased the business last year. It was like totally empty. It was like a pandemic hit the business, totally empty inside. So I had to invest a lot from my pocket to put the shelvings in, to bump up the inventory. And the big thing was the sign, because nobody knew that this store basically sells the spares. So, so I put a sign which is like a 10K from Viewpoint signage company. So install the sign, spend money on it. This is a rental place. I pay like a 3,200 something every month. And still business is struggling. I have to take it to the next level. So really appreciate you guys help me with the signage grant. I don't have any presentation, but I do have a image of the sign that I have, so I can show you guys if you can see on the screen. So this is the new sign that I have put in. This is all through my personal account. So that's it. That's it.
Okay, great.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I just have one. How many employees do you have total currently?
So currently, I have my brother who's helping with me. I cannot afford more employees. I used to have an employee who was working for me full time, so he decided to move to some other place. So now my brother moved from other state to help me out with the business. So he basically during the day stay there, and then I spend time out in the evening.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Fred, I assume a permit was issued for that new sign? One was,
Yes, it was issued, Viewpoint, and landlord also signed the approval, which is attached to the application.
okay, good. All right, thank you. Next up is EDC grant application from Honeydew Donuts.
Yes, hi. My name is Merlin. I own Honeydew Donuts in Westborough. I just bought the store in March, and I did a little bit I did a little bit of research, and I'm still doing research how to improve my store. And I thought it would be a good idea if I could have some outdoor seating during the summer, especially when the weather gets warm. I'm also trying to put some umbrellas and some music outside with it, and some flowers, so I make it more entertaining and better for people. I have around 6 employees who work for me. The store is doing better now, and I'm just trying to take it to the next level, make it a little bit better for the people and for the town of Westborough.
Okay, great. Where are you planning on putting the outdoor seating here?
Outdoor, as soon as you walk out, is on the left and the right side, away from the sidewalk and the parking space, so it won't take any space from the people.
Okay, and have you gotten approval from your landlord already to do that? Has he or she
Yes,
given your
sir.
permission?
Yes, I already had a conversation with the landlord. I explained everything what I wanted to put, and then he approved it, and he wished me good luck.
Okay, all right, great. Any other questions?
Do they need to go through the permitting process?
No, Fred and I met with this applicant to discuss this proposal, and it's, it's not doesn't trigger site plan or any
Okay.
permitting, and it's on
Okay.
private property, so.
Perfect.
What's the approximate number of seats that you're looking for?
Approximately, right, 8 the most.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right,
Nope.
thank you very much. Next,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Next is the EDC grant application for Learning Express Toys.
Hello. Learning Express is requesting a grant to partially offset the cost of tearing up 20-year-old industrial carpeting and replacing it with wood laminate floors. This is just one step, but the most expensive in our multi-year process of reimagining the Learning Express toy and gift store. Good morning, my name is Rob Krasanovich. My wife, Stacy, and I purchased the Learning Express about 5 years ago. Nora is our store manager. We have 2 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees. We purchased the store when it was on the verge of permanently closing. The store had been open for 18 years, but most years it made minimal or no profit. The first 2 years of ownership were difficult. We needed to adapt and reimagine the store. We couldn't just be a toy store. The competition from big box and online retailers is too intense. So we crafted a plan to put the store on a profitable path that has yielded positive results. First, we want to highlight our premium services, free gift wrap, and free personalization. I don't know of another retailer offering these types of services at no charge. Second, we had to refocus our inventory on unique products not found in big box stores. And then we have to update the store interior to reflect the premium services and products we offer. We've already made some updates to improve improvements to facilitate sales growth. We reconfigured the back room to accommodate online shopping. We relocated a wall to create space for the order processing. This was a game changer for us. The cost was about $3,500. This action saved the store and the jobs during the pandemic. We invested $1,500 in new fixtures to highlight trending products. The sales from these fixtures have been excellent. There's some, we handed out some images that you can see the images at the top. They look like wedding cakes.
There's only a couple of them there. There's one over there for you guys to share. There's one over there.
So some near-term investments we plan to make. The grant award will be used to update the flooring. The current flooring is 20-year-old industrial carpeting. The carpeting is in rough shape. Since our main customer are young kids, you can imagine what it looks like. The flooring will be wood grain laminate. This will brighten the store and give us an up-to-date look. The cost will be $15,811. Dick's Sporting Goods in Northborough is undertaking a similar project on a much larger scale. We spoke to the manager on duty why the store is being remodeled when it's fairly new. He said many of our suppliers of premium brands require upscale store aesthetics in order to stock their products. While our vendors don't make the same requirements, we do want to create a more boutique and updated environment. Future investments include, we'll be installing a new POS system as mandated by our franchisor. This system will not require hardwired internet, which will be a huge benefit. No hard wires will allow us to relocate the cash and wrap fixture from the center of the store to the front window. This will create space in the center of the store, and we will be able to add more wedding cake fixtures. Also, the new POS system will give us a much better understanding of our sales, inventory, and customer base. In the distant future, we plan to update the lighting. The fact is, the interior of the store looks old and out of date. In order for our store to prosper in the long term, we need to modernize the aesthetics of the store and highlight our premium services and products. It's difficult to assign a sales volume number to the project, but I do know customers want to shop in a pleasant atmosphere. This grant will help us fund one of the most expensive and important steps in our multi-year capital improvement plan.
Great. Any questions?
Quick question.
Yes.
How many square footage do you guys have? What's the square footage?
The front of the store is about 1,900. There is some wood laminate in the back, and that, so the total coverage will be about 1,600.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the EDC grant application for Max Cricket Sports. Is there a representative here?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Are you able to see my screen?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
You can half see him. It's fast enough.
Is he trying to share something?
Is it visible on the screen? I'm trying to share.
We see you.
Okay, but not my screen? Yeah.
Here we go, I think we get it now.
Yeah, I think we've got your screen now.
Okay, sorry for
Is
the
it,
goof-up.
is it blank right now? Is it a black screen or?
Are you able to see something on the screen?
There is. Well, it's black, but we can see the screen.
Are you able to see my presentation?
There we go.
There we go. Excellent.
Oh, sorry about the goof-up.
It happens.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Westborough EDC and the jury board members for reviewing our application for some grants. We are Max Cricket Sports. We opened last November 6th. It's been 6 months here, and the picture you see here is the boys from the Northeastern University who won the National College Championship Division A in Houston last year. We were proud to help them in a tiny bit in their endeavor to win this tournament. Now, before I go into that, possibly you guys are aware of why cricket. There are a few trivia about cricket, and cricket is the second highest viewed game in the world after soccer. It's very growing very fast in the US, with 32 million plus fans and viewers. USA at present is holding Major League Cricket, Minor League Cricket, National College Tournament, National Women's Tournament, and Masters Tournament, underage tournament like under 13, under 15, under 19, at various levels, starting from regional to national and international. USA is also a co-host to the International Cricket Council Cricket World Cup in 2024, which we feel that that will bring about the change what soccer has brought in after the 1994 FIFA World Cup. ICC is also working to include cricket in the 2028 LA Summer Olympic. And four of the top franchises from IPL, Indian Premier League, which is the one of the top richest league globally, has invested in the first USA Premier League. Two other franchises from Australian Big Bash League is also there. New England has a very large base of cricketers, not as big as Texas or California and North Carolina or Florida, but MSCL, the Massachusetts State Cricket League, has over 70 teams, and you can imagine about like 2,000 plus people are registered for the league. So with this large base of cricketers, the challenge here is that authentic quality cricket gear shop and coaching facilities that is here. This is a niche game, this is a growing game, this is not a regular mainstream one, but that's why we as a group, what's happening here? My screen is constantly flickering. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
So we are niche. We are the first kind in the entire Northeast region run by. We are all players. I am 50 plus. I play for the US Masters. Like 50 plus team. I'm going to Houston for playing the regional tournament, and we try to promote. Oops. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
We can't see your screen, though.
External display is disconnected. I don't know what's going on.
But what are your thoughts about the expansion of the store? Maybe maybe we should chat about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Victor. So essentially what we are trying to do, and we are trying to be the family store where a lot of kids, a lot of women are coming in for their cricket gear, and these cricket gears are sometimes expensive. Sometimes a bat may cost $600 to $800. So the request for grant is that we wanted to make the store more family friendly. In last 6 months, we have added. We started with 4 dealerships, and we in last 6 months we have added 2 more dealerships out there, and we wanted to make sure that we keep on adding more dealerships. So we wanted to improve our display properly, organized, and at present I call it a bit mess. Things scattered all over. We converted 1,090 square or 1,100 square feet. I would call a ghosted or warehouse, dim light, dark alley warehouse into a vibrant store where people come with family and kids and they enjoy there. So we wanted to make sure that number one, the family experience is great out there. They have a place to sit, they have a place to like watch games and learn few things out there. So we wanted to put some sofa, we wanted to put a TV and video so for the kids, for the learning. And when the mothers come in with the kids, they can sit somewhere. We wanted to have the shopping experience better. We wanted to set up a POS system. At present, I am using my own laptop. We just somebody else's printer and those kind of stuff from all the partners. We wanted to make it as a proper business environment, and even the sales system that we do, we have to do it from our phone. We want to set up a POS system so that the experience is much better for everybody. And then we wanted to set up the display racks and display area properly organized. We wanted to add more racks. We wanted to add more shelves, and which is matching to our. I had few pictures. I don't know what happened with this. I'd love to share those pictures out there. And then finally, we also wanted to add some of those.
Okay, any other, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Any other
Sorry.
questions? Any other questions from the board at this point?
What's the total cost of your project?
It's about 5,500, 5,650 we estimated, and we are trying to set up all those devices and a cooler and a fridge so that people in the summer get a little cool. We offer our customers candy, soda, water, etc. free of cost. We wanted to make that feeling better so that the family feels comfortable as a whole.
Thank you.
And the total cost here is 5,600 odd.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Next on the agenda is the EDC grant application for Swansky's Bake Shop.
Morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Em, and this is my partner, Casey. We own and operate Swansky's Bake Shop entirely by ourselves. And today we're asking you guys for the grant money so that we can add outdoor seating. Since we opened, we have been unable to add seating because our building does not have an adequate access to a public restroom. And since COVID has gotten to a point where people feel more comfortable, we have decided to go ahead and attempt adding outdoor seating. We feel like it's something that customers have asked us for since the very beginning, but we never had the ability of funds or the time to be able to implement such a thing. And now with the opportunity to apply for this grant, we hope that this money will allow us to give that to our customers.
We did a little bit of a remodel last summer. We closed and mainly did farmers markets. And we just did a little remodel inside. It was mostly cosmetic, and then moved some stuff around for functionality because we didn't open with breakfast sandwiches or coffee, which we now offer. And we also added some retail shelves to bring in some product from other small businesses to try and support them as well. And we have a door that connects the two businesses, and we just kind of used it as a wall to showcase other small businesses' business cards. So when people come in, they can take them. And so we're also hoping that the outdoor seating brings in more customers to be able to showcase other small businesses as well, in addition to kind of catching people's eye from the road, because even last Saturday we got like 3 or 4 customers in a row that all said that they were new because they had never kind of seen us and discovered us more online than they did from passing through the town.
Okay, great.
I think that's it.
All right.
Is the bathroom renovation contingent on the outdoor seating?
No. With the outdoor seating, we won't need a public restroom because they're choosing, we're not like changing anything. It's still just like a grab and go, and they can choose to eat outside. So we're just hoping to add some tables and umbrellas once we kind of go through that process, and like a trash receptacle and stuff outside.
Is there an approximate number of seats you hope to have?
We hope to have somewhere around 12 to 16, just depending on how many seats, I guess depends on where people sit. I think it would hold up to 16.
Okay. And I know there have been seats out there before. Just want to verify your landlord has approved this. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They just want to be kept in the loop, but they're approved initially, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, you guys probably mentioned this, but where is the proposed seating going to go?
The front patio, so right outside our front door. We hope that allows us to not only mitigate people driving through, which has become kind of a dangerous thing for our customers, as well as give them, again, the seating access.
Is there a budget for the outdoor seating? Is that the specific request for the grant? Is for outdoor
Yes.
seating?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a proposed budget? Yeah.
Yes, sorry, $2,593.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is our discussion of, and potentially voting for approval of some of these awards. Zach, how much do we have? This is the final quarter for the fiscal year.
So I think it would be good to do a little bit of a refresher for everybody on how the grant program works, given the change at annual town meeting this year. The program is funded at $60,000 annually. We ask for that money at town meeting in March every year. If I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christy or Fred, the money becomes ours to spend immediately, but if we continue, basically, instead of thinking July 1st to June 30th for that $60,000, think like May 1st to March 31st or whatever that is for that range. The board in the past has been, sort of trying to allocate grant funds equally among each of its review periods. If you choose to continue to do that, that would mean that there's about $15,000 available to spend this round. Additionally, I will add, at a previous meeting, the board voted to only bring forward the top 5 applications from our staff scoring. This week there are 6 because there was a tie for the 2 final applicants.
Now, Zach, this is also sort of the end of the prior year, so I know we kind of had a different process. It was funded differently for this fiscal year. I don't know if there was an assumption that there was money left over in that
No,
process?
we start
Okay.
basically reset from zero.
Got it.
From town meeting.
Okay.
So you have, if I may, you have $60,000 to spend, so once you spend it, you're out until next town meeting, assuming that warrant gets approved again.
Okay.
So if you spend over 15,000 this quarter, you'd have to figure out what you want to do in the following quarters. The timing's just a little bit off from what we've been used to, but.
Okay.
And
But
Fred,
last time,
correct me.
When that new warrant passed, the clock reset on all our
100%,
programs.
so there
Is
is,
that
there is no accumulated funds in the account, it starts fresh at 60,000.
Okay.
So then the question becomes if we want to continue to do it on a quarterly basis.
Correct.
It's probably best to allocate 15,000 at this point.
Yep.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
also, I will add, Fred, and correct me if I'm wrong again, but it's my understanding that because the funds have been appropriated, you don't, if you spent $55,000 between now and next March, you would still have that remaining $5,000 to spend in the future. Now, the town meeting may appropriate a different amount, dollar value of funds if you have leftover money, but there's no, I think, pressure to spend the full 60,000 if you don't feel like the projects are worthy.
Okay.
So it doesn't get moved to free cash at the end of the fiscal year?
Right.
Okay.
I don't think you have a problem spending the money.
No, that's not gonna be an
No,
issue.
it hasn't been a problem, it's just how to allocate it.
Right.
Best way to allocate it is extra to make sure.
Always
that-
an issue.
I mean, you can choose to do 10,000 this quarter, it all depends on how you want to go around.
Right.
And I've also provided you with a table detailing the amount requested for each applicant, as well as their total preliminary scores according to the rubric. The detailed breakout of those scores is attached in the large table that you should have underneath that sheet. But just please also be aware that 2 of the applicants are asking for less than $5,000. So just be aware of that when you're doing your calculations and decision making.
So, okay, so we're all in agreement, 15,000 will allocate this
Yep.
quarter. My feeling is that there's, we do have 6 applicants here. I'd say 2 of which are kind of separate from the rest of the pack, in my opinion. They scored higher on the rubric, obviously the most being Learning Express with the 75 points that they scored, and then Honeydew Donuts. And then the rest are, 50 to 55. The 4 of them, I kind of lump them together. My feeling is I'd like to give Learning Express the full $5,000 and Honeydew the full $1,633 that they've asked. That would leave us with approximately 8 and some change, I believe, right? Or less than that. Yeah, 8 and some change to allocate between the other 4.
I would tend to agree with that. I'm looking at Learning Express, they've been in town for, over 10 years. They have, employees, not that this is going to add employees, but they do employ people in town. And, yeah, I mean, and Honeydew, I think outdoor seating is always a good thing, so that's just my
Right.
personal opinion.
Yeah. I also like the fact that, we're funding like a third of Learning Express's project. They are making a significant
Right.
commitment themselves to
Over
this
many
project.
years,
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Would we like to start with that motion?
A motion for the top 2?
For the
and
top 2?
allocating those funds?
Yeah.
Sure.
I would make a motion that we allocate $5,000 to Learning Express Toys and $1,633.71 to Honeydew Donuts.
Zeph, second.
Okay, any discussion, any comments? If not, we'll vote.
That makes perfect sense.
Alexander, yes?
Zeph, yes.
Kenny, yes?
Kearney, yes?
Robbins, yes.
Anton, yes?
How are you? I'm muted. Especially here.
Riley, yes.
Moreau, yes.
Williams, yes.
Keo, yes.
Robbins was yes.
Great. All right, great, thank you. So we have, actually, let's see. We have 6633. $8,366.29 to allocate. If my calculation is correct here.
It is.
So of the remaining four we have, three of them have requested $5,000, one of them have requested $2,593.18.
I mean, I think just going off our history, I'd have to think, just as a thought, and people can agree or disagree. We spent a lot of time last year producing the rubric and
Yeah.
getting a system, because
Yep.
2 years ago, Fred and a few people can remember sitting here trying to give money
Oh.
out, what a nightmare it was. And this has made it so much, allow us to have
Yep.
at least some kind of parameter so the businesses and everything can work with us.
Yeah.
I think staying with that process, I think if we just stay with the scoring and did the Mass Cricket and the Swansea base route, the highest preliminary score with the rubric, taking us slightly under that $15,000 for the quarter, whether we wanted to give something small to one of the other ones or just, ask them to come back in the following quarter, and something like that might be an idea. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that, just as a secondary, just to, they're all good businesses. I would like to give everyone more money, but they don't give you that kind of pile to hand out yet.
Yeah, I think that there's not much of a differential with the 5 points between the four.
Yeah.
One thing that the coffee and pie gentleman mentioned, which kind of stuck with me, was the fact that of the 5,000 he was requesting, I think 1,331 was for a new grinder, which he said as of right now, he's the only one who can operate that. That's probably why he had to leave, to go
Right,
over
yeah.
there and
Yeah.
start grinding coffee. I think if there's a way we could give them some money towards that,
There's four left.
yeah, I mean,
Part of it's like, maybe give Swansea with the highest one, give them maybe 2,300, and then everyone else 2,000.
right.
Yeah, I thought the
Yeah.
other thing that was interesting about Coffee and Pie, too, he talked about the freezer, and essentially he can't order in a large enough quantity
Yeah.
in that on a regular basis, that would really, help support their business. I thought that was a very interesting point he made
And
as well.
they're a new business at April
Yeah.
1st, so they're just trying to get off the ground.
Yeah.
Hi, one of the things too is that we could give the 55 point people 2,500 each, and then split the 3,000 between the other two, 1,500 for those two.
I like that,
Yeah, I like
And
that too.
then,
yeah.
That makes sense.
and then there is, 5 points is not much of a difference, but there is a difference, and particularly if it involves a downtown business, right?
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
And that'll pay for most of the grinder, because I think the grinder
Yeah.
was 1,600.
Was it 16? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I like that.
I think that sounds
Anyone
good.
else?
Mark, do you want to put a motion for what you just said there?
You want to make a motion, Mark?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that the two companies that have 5,500 points, Swansky's and Max Cricket, get $2,500 each. And then the remaining two people, Harmon's Liquors and Coffee Pie, receive $1,500 each.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
Second by Zeph.
I second that.
All right. Great. Any discussion? Anyone want to talk about it further?
You good, Helen?
I'm good.
You good? All right. Alexander, yes.
Zeph, yes.
Kenny, yes.
Kearney, yes.
Monroe, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Bagden, yes.
Moreau, yes.
Riley, yes.
Williams, yes.
Keo, yes.
Great. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your presentations, and good luck, and thank you for doing business in Westborough.
Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. This is very much needed. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so to continue on that topic, next on the agenda is the discussion of the EDC Business Assistance Grant Program. Zach.
Great. If I may, in front of you, you should have 3 other documents. The first, which says draft for discussion at the top, is a draft of a revised rubric based on the feedback that this group provided me at our last meeting. The main change is that there would actually be 2 rubrics, one to be applied to new businesses and one to be applied to existing businesses. That was a big piece of feedback that we heard at the last meeting that we wanted to incorporate. Additionally, there are several new criteria. New businesses and existing businesses are different, and so we, the staff working group, when we met, decided to add or modify some of the criteria accordingly. And then in the 2 stapled sheets below that are an example of how this rubric has been applied on the applications that we've received in the last year or so. The new or modified criteria are highlighted in yellow, whereas criteria that were borrowed from our existing rubric are not highlighted. I'm noticing now they're not labeled. The one that starts with coffee and pie is for new businesses, and the one that starts with Harmon's Wine and Spirits is for existing businesses. Based on playing around with the rubric and doing this analysis on our past grant applications, I believe that the rubric does do a good job of providing sufficient variation among the applicants. But I'm,
Zach, just to clarify on that, the full-time calculations there, when you have 3+ and 7+, how do those, does 7+ supersede 3+, or is it added to?
They're added, so
you
if
get 10.
if a business had 8 employees, they would get the 5 points for 3+ and the 5 points for 7+. But if a business only had, or if the project was only going to create 2 employees, then they would only get the 5 for the, or actually they wouldn't get any points at all. They only had 5, if it was only creating 5 employees, they'd get only the 5 points.
Okay.
And on the other page, the business has operated in Westborough for X number of years works similarly, where if a business has operated in Westborough for 5 years, they get 5 points, and then if they're 10+ years, they get an incremental 10 points, so 15 points total.
Sorry, going back to the employee thing again, because that's such a subjective thing. I mean, people are just going to say, yes, we're going to have 7 people, we're going to have 8 people, or is there? I mean, obviously you can't do anything if they're just opening, but is there any benchmark that says, here are the employees and here are their names?
No, we don't ask for the employee names or their, or any like employee data. What we do ask for in the application is the total number of full-time employee hours that they expect and the total number of part-time hours that they expect. And then we add those together and then divide them by 35 to try and see if they're above 3 or above 7.
Okay, that makes sense.
Zach, I don't know, maybe it's just me reading into this, but it always has seemed to me that giving 5 points for 5+ years and then 10 points for 10+ years, but then if they both have adding it to, I don't know if it seems difficult to me to understand how you'd go from, 15 seems like a lot. Does that make sense to anybody else? Like I would say 5 points or 10 points, but to.
It is the most
Yeah.
of any, like if you think about them, it is
doesn't-
1 row instead of 2. It would be
Right.
the most of any row, that's
Right.
correct. Part of the reason why, way back when we initially
Yeah.
decided to do that, was because if I recall correctly, the board wanted to find some way to give weight to longstanding businesses that don't operate downtown. And specifically hearkening back to the Nurse Farm project that we
Right.
discussed last year. If you're a business, it's a great business, it's been here for a while, but you're not in downtown, because the rubric is weighted towards new businesses or towards downtown businesses,
Right.
some of those projects could fall through that. And so that's why, at least
Yeah.
it's so high, is because to make up for some of those other categories that those businesses might not have, we needed to augment that score.
Yeah.
What if we go with it by having it a business that's either historic or historic property or an iconic business? And then that way, that might tip the scale for something like the Nurse Farm versus, a business that maybe has been here a long time but doesn't really have the need. Maybe it's not iconic, maybe it's not historic or historic building, what do you think about dealing with it that way?
I think that can be a little challenging because iconic or historic can easily become subjective terms. And I wouldn't want to put the board at risk of, kind of picking favorites on any item on the rubric or being accused of doing so. The historic buildings is an interesting idea because that is something that's like a hard fact that we could look at. Unfortunately, I believe there are maybe fewer than 10 or 11 buildings in town that are on the National Register of Historic Places. And I think one of them is Linda Townsend's business at Release Wellbeing in the Nathan Fisher House. So I don't know if that list of list of historic places maps one-to-one with the businesses that we would consider to be iconic.
I mean, instead of them getting both, 5 and 10, if they're here for 5 to 10, they get 5 points, and 10 plus, they get 10 points.
That's exactly what I'm saying,
Versus,
yeah.
giving them both
I think.
points.
Then the question is, what else do we come up with, right? Because then
Right.
they're,
We need another 5.
yeah. Although I don't know that we're necessarily comparing these two spreadsheets, so it's possible we could still just do it out of 95, just knowing that we were going to allocate a certain amount to existing and a certain amount to new.
Well, you could add another line item for 15 years. If they meet that threshold, they get another 5 points.
1 point per
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I like that,
Yep.
actually.
Up to 15?
Yeah, up to 15, yeah, if you make it 15, you get a bunch of.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, David.
Okay.
Other people?
I do, yeah, I think that solves the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Could make the 10s 11.
Yeah. And not to add anything, but I always think that, and this one I always end up circling while they're talking, is part-time employees. I know you add hours to things, but, a part-time job may not be as, to the town as good as a full-time job, but it still puts someone that might only want to work part-time in a position that they're able to work. So I think, measuring someone that might have 5 part-time employees might be more valuable to the town than one full-time employee. In theory, if you put parents or kids to work, like the pie and coffee place that he said they had 5 high schoolers working there. That's, as a parent of a.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point, Mark. It's kind of going back to that whole thing we talked about, full and part-time employees. When Zach said you just tally up the number of hours, you could put the barometer at a total number of hours.
Yeah, I don't know what the
is the
barometer is.
full-time, what is the wage for a full-timer versus total number of employee hours?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think you were saying.
Yeah, so if you have, well, to your point earlier, Zach, about if you look at the total number of hours a business is generating for employment, is that the most important criteria? Or is it more important in some way that some of them are full-time?
Before you said you were adding.
As Mark points out, does that impact the town in any way, whether the employees are full or part-time or the total number of hours that are generated?
It's a good question. I
Sorry.
think, it's really up to this board to decide, what's more important to you. Full-time employees, some of the differences are that full-time employees are usually benefited positions. And so, I guess it's easier to live with a full-time position than with a part-time position. But then to Mark's point, part-time positions create opportunities for upward mobility and for learning and workforce development, for students and for, folks who are just getting started, in the workforce. So I think there's pros and cons. We could ask for the number of part-time employees as just a number, just say how many part-time employees do you have and how many full-time employees do you have. I actually think the application already does that. We ask for employees and the total number of hours. And then, if you wanted to weight total employees or like actual head count rather than total hours, that's something that we could do.
Yeah.
Something that just occurred to me is that a lot of the grants that have been floating around, especially post-COVID, one of the requirements is a certain number of full-time employees. So that's potentially another, area of funding that businesses could have that businesses with part-time employees don't have access to. So that might.
So, I think a lot of our applicants are retail-based businesses, and part-time employees are what feed them and make them grow. So, I think it would depend.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely agree with what Zach says about, benefited positions and so forth, but I guess a bucket of hours produced for the workforce is maybe a kind of a more dumbed down statistic that I don't know, I think that would be easier to measure, but I'm open to any thoughts on that one.
My only thought is
Do
just.
people put a lot of weight in full time?
They do, but I think
Sorry.
there's a lot of people that work second jobs and things of that nature in this town that, you're helping them out by, some people are paying the rent with that second job or getting above with the second job sometimes too, so. I think it's just, just ways to try and, if you want to weight the smaller or older businesses.
Yep.
Like that Ullman's, they said they had, 85 employees? I mean, that seems almost impossible, but,
It's all part-time kids.
But it's, how many people are serving ice cream at that Ullman's place if she has 85 employees?
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's a lot of kids.
Half the graduating
It's
class.
half the high school working at Ullman's. It's
My
not-
son works
And
for her.
Zach, I know on the regular grant application we filled out, you delineated that essentially 35 hours, 35 part-time hours equals a full-time equivalent, right? So,
So they are actually identifying
They
that if
are,
they
so
have.
the FTEs
yeah.
are there, so.
Yeah.
I think I like the way it's scored right
Yeah,
now.
we can leave it alone. I was just.
The other thing that I can point out too is that
Okay.
it's not like a ton of the applicants to this program create more than 7 jobs.
Right.
I think we've had maybe 2 or 3. Looking at the data, if you wanted to just make it one category, instead of 3 and 7, greater than 2 or greater than 1 or greater than 3, that I think would be all right as well. But
I think given our applicants, that's probably a wise decision because, I've only been sitting here for a year, but we haven't seen anyone creating more than 7 jobs. I haven't anyway, and I think,
well, we did have way back in
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but not.
November.
yeah.
yeah.
And then also Tribos, Peri Peri. So we have had 2 at the last cycle that were 7+, but
Oh. Could we do the same things we do with the years? If they're gonna create 3 and then more than 5, they get an extra point or something?
Got it.
you could do like a 3-tiered, if they create at least 1, part or full-time, if they create any jobs, and then greater than 3 full-time equivalent positions, and then greater than 7, and you could do 5, 5, 5, or something along those lines.
Yeah. That's, like I said, I was just thinking about the part-time stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
think out
I-
loud, but.
I think they do identify that with the hours on
Yeah.
the application. Honestly, I'm all right with it, the way we have it, based on that fact that they are identifying the hours and we're allowing them to add those up to be the equivalent of a full-time job, so I think we're covered there, unless I'm mistaken here.
Yeah, I would agree with Todd. I do think I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay.
I'm open to if other people feel otherwise, but I'd be more concerned if we weren't capturing those hours on the application
Yeah.
and allowing them to
Yeah,
convert them
I'm
into
there,
full.
so they'll be,
It would be impossible
Yeah, that's a good
to
point.
score
Right.
the applications if we didn't, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I think, if I understand correctly, the only change we want to make is, as it relates to the business has been operating in Westborough for 10-plus years, that will now be weighted with 5 additional points, and then have another category for business has been operating in Westborough for 15-plus years with another 5 points.
Yeah.
Everybody right? Everybody on?
I think we were saying, wasn't it 5, 10, and 15 with 15 each? 5 each, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, I guess the other thing is, are we accepting the proposed change that there are 2 different scoring systems,
Correct.
right? I mean,
And I also, there needs to be some discussion about how the mechanics of how that would work, and when you would want to start using this.
I think once it's approved, we start using
Yeah,
it.
I agree. I mean, we're already using
Well, I
the
think
funds,
we're going
right?
into
So
the next quarter. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever the
Yeah.
next cycle is, we go right, 'cause that'll be a
Yeah.
new.
So how do we want to
Yeah,
identify new
Q2.
business? How many years a business would qualify as a new business? Less than a year, less than 2, what do you
Right.
guys think?
Good point.
The application, says that, I believe, a business can apply for a project with like a 6-month look back. So you might consider keeping the same look back for a new business, like if they, and another question we ask on the application is, when did or will your business open for operations? And they provide us a date, either like a real one or an estimated one. And so
Like Mass Cricket.
if it's 6 months from the, if it's greater than 6 months from the meeting at which we're discussing the application, I would argue that that is not a new business.
So
and
like
that would
Mass
leave
Cricket
to-
was on the edge right there with,
Yeah.
they opened November
November.
6th, where whatever today is, May 1st, 2nd.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you maybe give them a little leeway. They could have applied 2.5 months ago, and our
Right.
meeting is, so,
Well, maybe from application
Right.
date.
from application date.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Do we want to vote on that, or?
Yeah, well, any discussion that people want to have as it relates to the,
So we're gonna keep just existing with the one change and just have one application for everyone still for now? Is that the thought?
We're gonna-
With the caveat that 6 months is the kind of look back period of a new, you can't come a year into your business and say I'm a new business.
Well, I think we're saying we have
No,
2 scoring
2.
methods.
Yeah.
You only qualify as new if you've put in an application within 6 months of your opening.
Okay, that
Right.
makes sense. Okay, took me a second to follow that.
No, no.
everybody on board with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do we have to vote on this, or is this just a?
I think we do.
I think we have to vote on this. Do we have to vote on the change for the 5, the weight for the, we have to vote on that too, for the, how long the business has been in town for 5, 10, and 15 years, and the 5 additional points that are being allocated to the 15-year plus.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And that it will be, you will
Yes.
start using the rubric effective immediately.
Yep.
Okay. So,
So we can do it all in
So
one.
moved? No, that doesn't. No?
So you want an actual motion?
Yeah, sure. Or-
Yes. Yeah, okay. So I move to accept the updated rubric with the 5, 10, and 15-year time breaks, and that that we would put this into effective immediately.
I second that motion.
Well, and we want to use the 2 different criteria that, for the new
Right,
business.
and we have
versus- yeah.
two segments of the rubric for new and existing businesses.
Yeah.
And there's a 6-month look back inherent.
From application date.
From application date.
Yes.
Okay. Did we miss anything? Everybody good with that?
That was it?
yeah, I think so.
I agree.
All right, Alexander, yes.
Oh, do we get a second?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Sandy seconded.
I second.
Second,
Kearney
thank you.
second.
Alexander, yes?
Zeph, yes?
Kenny, yes?
Kearney, yes?
Robbins, yes.
Bagden, yes?
Ridley, yes.
Moreau, yes.
Williams, yes.
Keo, yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Good work.
No worries. I do have a couple of questions, if I may, before we move on from the topic. Do you envision using, like, funding a certain number of new business applications or existing business applications per quarter? And I guess the reason why I'm asking the question is because, I guess, do you intend to compare scores between the two rubrics? So, like, if one has a 71 on one and the other is only, it only has, like, or other applications only have 50, but they're scored in a separate rubric, how would you manage that situation?
That's a really good question.
I mean, I would imagine that we would be allocating to both groups every meeting, but that based on the differences in scoring between those applicants, we may weight more towards one than the other. If we get, 5 applicants that are new businesses and 3 of them are 75 and 2 are 50, and then we get 2 on the other side and they're both, 45, I don't know, we do the 3 businesses and then figure out the.
Yeah. I would agree with that, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question would be if we get 10 applicants, 5 new business, just out of, because we've had up to, if we got 4 and 4, let's say, not even 5 and 5, we end up at 4 and 4, do we,
Well, you just introduced another actually good question. Right now, we're saying we just introduce 5 every time, right? That's sort of our cutoff.
That's how we
And
cut
it's,
down.
and it's, and it's the top 5, but if the 2 rubrics aren't scored the same, then you may get more applicants from one than the other, just on the basis that it's easier, that one's not as tough as the other. I don't know, do we take 3 from each?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I think you have to wait and see what the scores are. You may get really low scores in one of the 2 categories and find that the other category is more deserving. I think you need to look at what the applications look like when they come in.
It's going
at
to
least
take
do
a couple
round
of,
and then reevaluate?
And so you do have all of the applications that we've received scored using these 2 rubrics in front of you. If you think that they are comparable, we could try it. My observation is that the existing business category tends to score higher than the new business category, but
But aren't there also fewer of them, sir?
there are fewer, but not more than a few, I think.
No, I agree. I guess we have to just check it out.
I think we're just gonna have to try it and see how it goes, and look, the rubric isn't something that we have to, we don't have to vote based on the rubric, it's used as a guide for us, so. Right. There's gonna be situations we're not thinking about right now that are gonna come up, and we just have to be flexible with it and use our best judgment, so. I mean, we can spend hours working on this, trying to come up with the best, what we think is the best solution, but until we start to use it and deploy the funds.
So for next quarter, what would we say? We bring the top 4 and 4, if there were that many applications, just so Zach can have something to go off of?
I still think it's a top 5 of each category.
Top 5 of each
Yeah,
category.
Okay.
that's my feeling, and then we can
If
look at all of
5
them.
and 5, and we go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just can't distribute to 10.
right.
Right,
folks.
I guess we'd have to have the caveat, those businesses would have to know, as you're accepting their applications, make sure we kind of set the expectations that there are a lot of people applying and only 2 or 3 are gonna get something out of this potentially, and, because we have 1,500 a quarter, assume that's 3 grants out of 10. So that's 7 disappointed campers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program, and I think we've done a very good job allocating the funds. reality is this program could go away next March. You know, it might not get voted on for funding at the next town meeting. So I hope that all these people are appreciative of the money that they're getting, but at the same time, they shouldn't just expect it either. I truly don't feel that these projects should depend on whether or not they're getting these grants. You know, these grants are nice to have, but,
I actually find it so much more helpful to have a specific direction rather than a generic direction for what the grant money is applied for. It just makes it so much easier. And in that ties into our discussion about being able to prove, the value that the grant provided.
right,
Yeah.
right.
When somebody says, I'm going to do outdoor dining, I want this many tables, I think it's going to give me visibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's pretty clear to me. That's a good project.
Yeah,
Well, and the other piece too, like Sean was saying, the significant investment that they're making
yeah,
in addition to, right?
Right.
This is, like for Learning Express, it's a 3-year upgrade.
Right.
And they're putting a significant amount of money in,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
right.
At some point in the future, that may be a worthwhile criteria.
I'm same.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? If not, let's move on to the next item, which is a debrief of the 2022 Year in Review Award Celebration, which I think went off pretty well. Zach, thank you for all your great work on that and putting that together. And I think everybody that I've spoken with, nothing but positive feedback, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
I would say the only question is the venue still big enough? I mean, it's a beautiful venue. It worked out extremely well. I think now that we're back out of the pandemic, I think the event was just, it's a popular event. And that's just food for thought. I don't know.
No.
It was still fantastic.
I completely agree. I have a list of things that I was hoping to
Yeah, go
review with
ahead.
you guys today about your opinions and thoughts for changes for the future. The event space is a big challenge for me personally as somebody who coordinates the event, because it does have a pretty hard limit, which we were pretty close to the other day, of about 100, maybe 110 people in the room with seats. Otherwise, then folks have to stand. The challenge that creates is that when managing the guest list, it's very hard not to over-invite or under-invite folks to the event, because I'm always very careful about inviting, like 250 people and then getting like 175 of them that actually show up. And on the contrary, you don't want to invite too few people, because, then if not enough show up, then, the event doesn't work out as well as we would have hoped. The attendees, or the award winners themselves, are a bit of a challenge, because we offer them up to 5 seats at the event for their friends and family. And that's great, but 5 times 6, that's 30 of our 100 total seats, and a lot of them don't let me know who will be coming with them until the last possible minute. So then, there are open seats at the event that could have been filled by somebody that wanted to attend, or a business that we'd love to, have there and invite. And so it becomes a little difficult. So I completely agree, and I think that, in the next couple of months when we get closer to the event, we should maybe think about, some other, so a way to manage the attendance at the event, and potentially consider a different location. Although I think it works great in that location.
I thought once everyone sat down, it was okay, but because everyone's sort of around the coffee and the food, you were sort of like stuck over there, so everybody was against the wall.
I was upset I couldn't get to the coffee.
So if we were going to leave it in the Great Hall, I mean, obviously the challenges that Zach brought up, this wouldn't solve, but you would almost need like a secondary space for coffee and food maybe, and then have everyone come into the hall.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it's a lot more expensive, but we can consider talking about doing the DoubleTree again or something and making it a little more formal. Something to think about.
I don't know. Well, I guess you probably wouldn't want it. We wouldn't want it to be there because it would be in a different town. But I know that the school department is able to access the Tufts Vet School, and I don't know what they have for a facility, but I don't know that we'd want to take it out of town.
I mean, in the town, there's years for events. You got the Knights of Columbus that are, I think, bigger venues. on the Main Nights of Columbus is, but definitely USA events. It's definitely a bigger.
Also, the Fish and Wildlife
Oh, yeah. That's
Division
beautiful
headquarters
space.
right here in town has a huge meeting room,
That's
and it's a
great.
beautiful space, and they would probably have additional space to separate your refreshments from your actual meeting presentation room.
Yeah,
That's a-
they have a gorgeous meeting room, and
Mhm.
I'm sure that they would have that secondary location. Just walking in is
Yeah,
really,
and they've offered it to us.
It also would be a great spot because it's right next door to Copen, which is one of our former award winners from last year, and the Mass Tech Collaborative as well, which is
Yep.
a big economic development organization in the state.
And they have lots of parking, which is an issue for
Yeah.
Forest Building.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah,
the point.
it's a good
that's a
point.
great idea.
It's a great
I
idea.
like that idea a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a good spot.
Yeah.
Would it be free?
Yes.
Then I think, I love it.
So we. Yes, much cheaper than DoubleTree, right? So then you probably need to reach out to them. When you set a date, as soon as you set the date, I would reach out right away.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Jim.
If not, for those of you that haven't seen the venue,
I-
you really
yeah, I
should go
haven't.
see it.
Yeah.
I've never seen
There's
it.
a
Yeah.
stream through the middle of the building.
Really?
With live trout,
Oh.
with live trout in the stream.
Okay. It's impressive.
Because they are the
Yeah.
Fish and Wildlife
Yeah.
Yeah.
Department, so.
All right. I love that idea. I think that's great.
That's a good idea.
Another one of the topics that I wanted to bring up was food. So last year we definitely overbought food. This year I bought probably about 2/3 of what we had planned for last year, and we still overbought. So I just wanted to bring that up and see if, you know, maybe there are any different types of food that we should do, or, you know, if we maybe just want to do coffee and drinks. I know that the coffee and the tea and stuff always, you know, is popular, whereas like some of the things that we get maybe are less popular than others. But I just feel bad because I feel like a lot of it, you know, goes to waste at the end of the event, and you know, I just want to make sure that we are not wasteful.
I wonder though if in a different venue,
It might
more
be.
stuff would
Yeah.
have gotten, because it was
Yeah.
kind of in the, I mean, I'm not being critical of how it was
No,
laid out,
please,
but I
it's
do
okay.
think that it was just sort of difficult to kind of get to everything,
Yeah.
so.
Everyone was bunched kind of in front of
Yeah.
it, so if you didn't get there early, you weren't gonna go over and
Right.
like plow through people to get to a bagel bite or
Right.
whatever it was, you know, you weren't gonna.
Jim, is there seating at the Fish and Wildlife, or is it all, I mean, like
Seating.
table seating, I guess I'm asking?
Or-
You have a couple different options.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've never been there when they had tables, but I would suspect that they do.
They have tables, and I've been to
Okay.
meetings with
Okay.
tables.
Okay,
I've been to meetings where it's set up theater style.
yeah.
So I think you'd want to go, do some reconnaissance on the
Mhm.
meeting space and decide what you want to do. But again, it is popular. It's a popular venue,
Yeah.
and because the price is right,
Hmm.
you do need to book it early. So if you when you set this date, I'd do it right away.
Well, how about the last Friday of April 2024?
I think it's a good idea. I also wouldn't mind moving it up a little bit to March. And my rationale for doing so would be that it kind of brings it closer to the year that we're reviewing versus the, you know, year that we're in. Before confirming a date, what I did want to do, and this is a great discussion, I wanted to actually reach back out to the secretary's office and start the conversation for her interest in coming back next
Yeah.
year, if that's something that folks are comfortable with. And then I would think, because we're so far in advance, that we can massage the date over the next month or two with the secretary's office and kind of solve around that.
Yeah, I would just recommend also reaching out to Karen at Westborough TV to make sure if we do push it up that
That's good.
for her, it's not a timing issue either, that she has enough time, she and her team have enough time to
Certainly.
pull off the videos.
Pre-COVID it was in January,
It was,
Yeah.
yeah,
which is challenging.
yeah. We had a
Yeah,
couple of
we
those
bumped all that stuff
snowstorms.
Because of, I mean, the reason we ended up with the big hall was because we didn't want to book the DoubleTree in
No,
case
I
we
know,
couldn't
yeah.
cancel. It was, you forget all the things we did.
But yeah, that's a great
Okay.
point. And I think settling on a date is probably not something we're going to be able to decide like
Right.
right here, but
Right.
it'll be
There's your window.
a
You have a window
collaborative
there.
effort. But yeah, March to April, I think anytime in that window sounds good to me, avoiding school vacations and other
Graduation. all that.
graduation things when people are away. So, but yeah, and I think with a different seating arrangement, maybe more of the food, you know, gets consumed. The other major change that I wanted to make for next year is the name tags. I love the idea of having name tags. Name tags are also relatively challenging, logistically speaking, in terms of event planning, because we need to have a full guest list usually a week before the event in order to get the name tags printed. The guest list always changes in the days after the event, which creates wasted name tags, but also having to write name tags for people. Next year, I want to work with Peter Gardner at Curry Printing to just have a generic name tag where it says name and organization or name and business, that people will just fill out. And, you'll write your name and you'll write your organization, and we just have a bunch of name tags at the beginning for people to come in. There won't be, we'll do pre-registration so we know how many people to expect, but it won't be as important. But yeah, those were my three major things: is the space, the food, and the name tags. Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty good event. I have goosebumps from the videos that Westborough TV put together, and so I hope that other folks also enjoyed it. But if you guys have any other thoughts about things that we can do, or if there's anything, and please, my feelings will not be hurt. If there's anything that you noticed during the event, or something where you were it could work better if it were this way, just let me, feel free to say it, or let me know, or send me an email, or anything. But for now, we'll get to work at trying to find that date for next year.
Okay. Great. And again, a special thanks to Westborough TV. The work that they do is just incredible, and I know all the recipients loved getting the videos from the award ceremony, and just great. Karen and her team continue to do great work, so special thanks to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. I think it went really well this year.
Great, thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, the tone, I have to say, in the room was unbelievable. And, we always talk about the relative business friendliness of the community, and it could not have made Westborough look any more business friendly in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Next on the agenda is the Community Development Department report.
Great.
Zach.
I don't have too much for you today. Cold Harbor is still moving along. There are several events, economic development related, that I encourage the board to join. Mass Econ specifically is having several business brunches in the next couple of months. Next Tuesday, May 9th, from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. They're having a business brunch on stretch codes, permitting, and approvals. And then on June 6th, from 10:30 to 11:30, they're having a business brunch on commercial real estate trends. I found these Mass Econ events, which the town and the Westborough EDC is a member, very helpful in keeping a pulse on economic trends and kind of what's going on in the region, but also in the state as a whole. And so if any of you are free or interested, I would encourage you as EDC members to attend. Additionally, the Quarter 9 495 Chamber of Commerce is having its annual meeting and celebration on Friday, April 19th. If any of you, it's from 7:15 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., and it's going to be at the Doubletree Hotel. May 19th, yes, Friday, May 19th. If any of you would like to attend, I would be happy to register you on behalf of the EDC. I know several EDC members are also members of the Chamber and may also be attending on their own with their businesses. But it should be a great event, and yeah, I will be attending. Additionally, one of our EDC members is having a ribbon cutting ceremony with the Quarter 9 495 Chamber of Commerce on what looks to be Tuesday, May 23rd from 5 to 6 p.m. So I would love to see a strong turnout from the board celebrating it's the reopening, right?
Yep, and the 6-year anniversary.
Reopening, and the 6-year anniversary for LCK Glassworks. And then the other thing that I'll mention, the major project I'll be working on over the next couple of weeks is, if you recall, EDC received an ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act allocation to create a working capital grant program to give some money back to businesses that were hit hardest by COVID-19 and are still struggling with inflation and staffing issues. I had started over the course of this year. I met with several of my colleagues in other towns who've done similar programs, and collected a bunch of their applications and program guidelines, started putting together a draft. I'm hoping to finish that at some point between now and our next meeting, so that we can get that to our senior leadership team in the town, and start to launch that program hopefully this summer. But otherwise, that's all for the Community Development Department report today.
Okay, great. Jim, great to see you again. Welcome back. Understand you're back on an interim basis.
Part-time retirement, part-time work. Thank you to the EDC for the lovely plaque that I received at my retirement party. I was blown away by the amount of support and appreciation and the gifts and all the things. It was very generous. Thank you very much to everyone that supported me in my position. It's hard to believe, 30 years plus. And it's been really exciting to see how EDC has transformed, evolved, grown, and succeeded in a huge way in all the years. And thanks, Zach, for all the effort that you've put in to keep this board going and to keep this group alive and thriving. So, and thanks to all the guys that also are watching this and joining us remotely. Mark, thanks for the continued emails.
Awesome. All right, thanks. Any other business?
I just wanted the group to know that the Golf Club Building Use Committee started meeting. We had our first meeting last week, and I think it's a really good group. We're actually we met at the building, but to do a tour, but we're actually gonna meet in this room so that our meetings can be broadcast.
Yeah.
But the intention is to move pretty quickly, because the goal of that group is to have a recommendation to the select board by October. So the next 2 meetings in May will be to hear from the current golf pro about his use of the facility and his hopes and dreams for the future, as well as Jen Kirkland in Recreation Department. And then we're actually going to invite in a restaurateur and someone who works at a similar golf course in another community, with the intention of, in June, launching a community survey. So I thought this group would be interested based on the business that was in there.
Great.
Oh, I guess, sorry, apology. The other thing I'll add to that, not related to that really, is that Fred and I presented to the Master Plan Implementation Committee last week, starting to begin the dialogue between this board, the Community Development Department, and the Master Plan Implementation Committee. It was a pretty, I guess, high-level overview of the work that we have been doing as a board, as well as, what we have done on any of the master plan items that have been marked as high priority. For all of the high priority master plan items, this board is, or not for all of them, but for all of the high priority master plan items where this board is referenced, we are referenced as an implementation partner, not as an implementation leader. So it's my understanding that for several of these initial projects, we will play a supporting and advisory role. But most of the meeting was me kind of walking through what our initial thoughts are on some of those master plan items and kind of what the board has been up to and where we are going to be in the next couple months and years. So they had a lot of great questions. It was a really good discussion, and we'll probably hear from them again soon.
Awesome. All right. Great. I was hoping, I know Fred's not here, so Christy, maybe you can touch upon it, but last week at the select board meeting, the select board voted on the position that Zach is in is no longer an economic development coordinator, and it's been elevated to an Westborough economic director, if I'm correct.
Economic Development Director, yeah. So that'll be effective July 1st. I think we've really been able to see sort of the elevation of this. For folks who have been on this committee for a long time, we've really watched it grow from a 15-hour-a-week position, to what it is now, and then I think to what it can be. So effective July 1st, Zach will have the new position.
That's great. Awesome. Congrats. Thank you. Well deserved. All right.
Well deserved.
Any other business? No? If not, go on and make a motion.
Can we get a motion to adjourn, please? Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Alexander, yes?
Zeph, yes?
Kenny, yes?
Kearney, yes.
Dyken, yes. Rayleigh, yes.
Burrow, yes.
Robbins, yes.
Keo, yes.
Williams, yes.
All right, thank you all very much. We'll see you next month on the 6th, I think it is, or the 5th, something like that.